Hello and welcome to our talk show, The Talk With Tariro, a program which will bring you weekly on ZTV at this particular time, on this particular day. And we are continuing with our discussion that we had last week, where we are looking at the issue of the uptake of leadership positions by women, particularly looking at young girls. We heard last week from a passionate young woman who was saying it has to start from the home. And really, we still want to get more views from adolescent girls, because we are saying giving them a voice is one step to them getting those positions. And on the show today, I'm joined by Kudzai Maweni, who is a young person, aspiring leader as well. Kudzai, welcome to the talk.
Thank you, Tariro.
Yes. I hope last week you watched our show that we had with Rico, who was quite passionate about this particular issue. And I would want to ask you, as a young person, beautiful as you are, why do you feel that women should be leaders?
Well, growing up, my grandmother used to say, "Mukadzi ndiye musha, musha ndo mukadzi." Because takadautarisa pakatanga even AIDS, vakadzi make sure kuti everything was okay. Even during coronavirus, vakadzi cleaner, they make sure kuti vana vavo vaenda kuchikoro vane mask, sanitizer, nezvakasiyana siyana. And I also think zvinokubatsira vanasikana kuti vaone kuti yes, you can be a leader. It's not just for men, but also for girls, young girls, kuti vaone kuti in life you can also lead in different ways. It depends kuti uno leader zvakaita sei.
Yes. Iwe ndikatarisa zvawataura zvokuti mukadzi ndiye aona kuti mwana aenda kuchikoro ndiye aona chi. Someone can say ndo mapositions anotarisirwa kunzi aitwe nevakadzi iwayo. Then kana vakuenda kuoffice vava nababa, ivo ngavasare vachiona zvinhu zvepamba.
I think atifanire kuona zvinhu sekudaro. It's not like vakadzi tinofanira kuleader mudzimba only, but also mumaparliaments. Because tada kungoisa varume mumaparliaments, like mapositions ari pamusoro. Varume vakwanise kufila zvinhu zvatinoda as women. Because vakadzi, we can know the feeling yemwana aripo more than varume. Varume, they can just say, sorry. But mukadzi unozoti dignity yako, self-respect yako yabviswa pauri. So mukadzi akaiswa pa that position in parliament yekuti control vanhu vari kurepa vanhu, anokwanisa kuapa a severe punishment yekuti varume vanototya kutoenda padhuze nemusikana, because they know kuti ndakada kungomuguma uri kungomuharasa ndinopinzwa mujeri, and then ndopuwa mayesi akawanda. So yeah, I think we should give opportunities kwa kadzi, not just kudzimbonzi, control kudzimba, but also in businesses.
You are saying we should give these positions kwa kadzi. From what you have experienced, what you have witnessed, why are women not in leadership positions?
Well, vakadzi hatisi united. Takaona mukadzi anoda kusimuka kuti ataure, to be the voice of the voiceless. Tinotanga kumunyeya kuti ane show off, anoda kungoonekwa enda anoda kumira pana varume too much. Not knowing kuti that person is going to help the upcoming generation. Because takada kuti tidzikisirane tiri vakadzi, hapana murume achakwanisa kundisupporta. I need a sister, I need a mother, I need a daughter to support me pane zvose zvandinoita. So I think vakadzi ngatisade kunyanyotarisana pasi, ngatisimudzane, tigadzane crown. Like if you see me kuti pane pakanganiswa, uya undiudze than kuda kuti munondinyeya as a group. And then later on you go and support a man. I'm also someone who's trying to help isusu sevanhu vakadzi kuti tinge tichibudirira, tinge tione mapositions ari pamusoro. Because if you look at these days, vakadzi ringopuwa mabasa asina kadhat
Yes.
tinongonzi masecretary machi but hatisi kumboitwa kana maceo kana kuti
but wataura wega kuti you're pulling each other down. That PhD syndrome inogara yakataurwa.
Exactly.
And already, you know, isusu when we're growing up, we used to talk about that. And sadly, iwewe semwana wechidiki, you're still seeing that being prevalent. Saka that united front, inouya sei kuvanhu vechidzimai kana kuri kwokuti muri kuti yes, we would want these positions, but already you're saying mega pachenyu hamusi kusapotana.
I think we should have more organizations like Shamwari Yemwanasikana. Shamwari Yemwanasikana tinodzidziswa kuwirirana pachedu vasikana, kubatsirana, kunzwisisana kuti chii chinoda kuitwa kana makaungana savanasikana. Saka vana vadiki vakakura vane maorganizations akawanda seShamwari Yemwanasikana vanokwanisa kukura vane that mindset yekuti no, this is my sister, I can help her.
Yeah. And iwewe kana ndakakutarisa sakudzai waungati when it comes to, maybe before even getting to that, ndombonzwa kuti iwewe what have you done kuti upinde into a leadership position?
Well, a friend inotsotilia Mavunga, she's in South Africa. She once told me which could one day to date a female president of Zimbabwe. I looked at her and I said, masisi soya nikuvi. But when I got to Zimbabwe, my little sister, akavandisha ndichi Shamwari Yemwanasikana. When I got there, ndakaona vakadzi vaitungamirira. And that inspired me kuti ndoda kuone chigaro ichocho. I want someone kuti anditarise and be like, I want to be like that girl. Saka, yeah, ndoda kuita a great leader in my community. Kubatsira vasikana. Vamwe vanhu vakwanisa kutaura zvikwanisa mulife. Vamwe vanhu vari kurepwa nevanhu vari kugarisana navo mumba. But I want to be open to those people so that they can come to me and say, kudzi ukona chii ndikudai ndikudai. And then inini, since ndamukati ndakuda kuita leader, I can go to someone wandinonyatsoziva kuti anokwanisa kubatsira this person.
And finally, who is your role model when we talk about leadership?
Well, my role model is my Mnangagwa.
The first lady?
Yes, the first
Why?
lady. Because of her charity organization called Angel of Hope. It's helping a lot of women and girls in this country. Vekuti vamwe vazhinji vangangorara mastreets vakushaya zvekuita, vamwe vanhu vakutaura zvekutamba nje vari vakadzi havasisina hope in life.
Yes.
Kuti maybe tomorrow I can be someone else, I can be a better person. Saka she made a big difference, showing kuti not only varume vanokwanisa kugadza that orphanage or chi, but also vakadzi tinokwanisa. So she inspired me kuti if ndakakura, I also want to open my orphanage kuti vana vadiki or vanhu vakuru vakwanise kupinde kuorphanage ko.
What would you say is your message to other young women?
Well, I urge all women and girls out there that we are same as men. We are not inferiors. We are also capable to do the same thing as men. Yeah, and that's those test rappers. You are beautiful and you have a reason why wakasikwa. Saka, do as you feel like you want to do.
And that's a kudzai there for us on the talk. With Tariro Kudzai Maweni, who is a young person. And interestingly, she's saying the First Lady is a role model when it comes to issues of leadership positions. Who knows, if we are lucky and she's watching the Talk with Tariro, maybe one day she will call you and say, Kudzai, come, let's have tea. Join us after the break, where we have Shamwari Yemwanasikana explaining to us what initiatives are in place to make sure that young people are empowered and present themselves for any leadership position. Join us. We continue with our discussion, and now on the program, we are joined by Florence Mutake, who is a programs coordinator with Shamwari Yemwanasikana. Florence, welcome to the talk.
Thank you, Terry.
Yes. Last week and in our first segment, we heard from young women who are passionately talking and advocating for their inclusion, for their participation in leadership positions.
Sure.
First of all, maybe I would want to hear Your opinion on that?
Oh, okay. So just basing on the conversations that you had previously, I'm sure you had quite a lot from young women who are already positioning themselves to take up positions of leadership in an unapologetic stance and in a bold voice that seeks to amplify the voices of young women in Zimbabwe. Our program is running into presenting and providing opportunities that amplify young women and girls' uptake in positions of leadership, which are leadership that we are seeing at various stratas. You spoke on the community, you spoke on the church, you spoke on the school, you also spoke on the private and public sector. So basically what we are doing is Shamwari Yemwanasikana with these young girls is to prepare them for those opportunities when they present, opportunities where they can, eagerly and boldly say, I am here and I'm ready to take up that position. I am here and I'm ready to speak, not only for myself, but to also speak on the other girls and all the women who are not privileged to have the mic to speak in and to speak with. So basically that is what we have been doing. We are actually continuing to create a new generation of change makers where we see young women and girls who can, safely and freely say, we are here to take up the 50-50 positions, giving gender equality and equity in positions of leadership.
And you spoke about these women are positioning themselves.
Sure.
How is the situation at the moment? If we let's look at young women, different platforms at community level, wherever, how is the situation at the moment? Where do young girls stand and where do women stand?
In terms of where young women stand, I can firstly say the positions are there on paper. If you look at our policies in Zimbabwe, they are speaking on gender mainstreaming, that is talking on the inclusion of all genders at different levels and sectors. But when you look at the practical uptake of these positions being given young women, you see the level of engagement and meaningful participation and uptake is quite low. Why am I saying it's low? I would want to take an example of our existing quota system in the parliament. The number of young women who have taken up positions of those leadership, they are quite fewer than positions that are already assumed by women who have come of age. Looking at that,
are young women presenting themselves? Because that's one thing. I remember I was at one meeting and somebody said that when we are looking at even politics, how many of us are into politics? And then if I'm looking at young women, are they presenting themselves? And last week I was actually talking to Ziko and I was saying to her, one time I listened to the president and he was saying the challenge that he has is the women actually not forthcoming.
They're not presenting. Yes, sure. Like I said, you see the numbers of the women who present, they are low. Basing on the reason that there is still that ceiling glass. You can see the position, but there's a barrier that is transparent that you can't just break through. There are systematic and structural barriers that are still existing, that are deterring young women to uptake those positions. If you look at the round table of the boardroom, it's one intimidating because it's too masculine. You take a young woman who is coming from a background that has not been equally socialized to take up those positions. Already the voice and the participation of that young woman is already challenged. Yes, she might participate, but you'll find the voice that is being given on the table is not also recognized and it is also not taken up. So you find the participation and the uptake of these young women is also reduced owing to these structural barriers that present themselves as young women try to propel. You look even at, I remember Riko touching on how she tried to position herself in the junior parliament, but already the young men are already positioning themselves as leaders who are already occupying these spaces. So for a young woman who was not adequately empowered and, skilled to take up and present boldly her position, her mind, her decision to a table full of men, that room, that table becomes intimidating to a point where women tend to say, well, let them do. We are comfortable with positions where we given tapiwa kwenzi because let's mainstream taku create spaces 10 for women, and we are now comfortable. We have now a caliber of young women, both young and old, who are comfortable in being position holders and not decision holders.
And we are normalizing it.
We have normalized that. So we are trying to break those gaps. We're trying to bridge those gaps and trying to break those barriers that maintain the normalization of position holding. We want women who are confidently saying, I want to be a leader. And what I say as a leader, sitting behind that table, that share of authority, is voice, is word that can be heard, word that can be acted on, and word that can be implemented to its total capacity, simply because it's a voice that is coming from a woman who is empowered enough to be a leader at any level.
And Florence, my question would be, will that become a reality? Because we have spoken about this, I think, for years and years. And I'm sure even somebody who's watching us is saying, we have heard this before. What has changed?
Indeed, this is now becoming an age-old conversation where we are saying women in leadership, women empowerment and all. What I believe when it comes to leadership and breaking the barriers, it becomes a process and not an event. It can never occur and it can never be attained in a single activity or in a single event. It can be done over a period of years to come. So I'm saying, yes, it is possible for us to reach that level where we see 50-50 participation and 50-50 equal positioning of both men and women at positions of leadership. But it's something that will take time. Time to program, time to shift minds, time to shift perceptions, and also time to invest. There is need also of investing, not just technical investment, but also financial investment that also propels the kinds of leaders and the caliber of leadership that we would want to see in our nation. If you look at other countries are already taking up, the agenda of positioning women at leadership where 50-50 is being driven. And Zimbabwe can also achieve that. We are moving towards a generation where we can actually see the first female president being elected in our nation. But it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of commitment, and it takes a lot of political will to make sure that position is presented and it is also taken up by women and girls in Zimbabwe.
Well, join us after the break. We will continue with our discussion. We continue with our discussion looking at the issue of uptake of leadership positions by women. And we are hearing how young women are actually being prepared to position themselves so that they can take those positions. One issue that we had last week was the issue of our upbringing. When you speak about these challenges that we're having, and Ziko was quite passionate about that and saying we need to change it from family level, from when a young person is still a toddler at home. It has to start from there. Your comment on that?
I would want to say our socialization does play a huge role in terms of refining or creating the personality of individuals in the home. It's something that has been in our cultures where girls are found to be subjective to the voice and authority of fathers, brothers, uncles in the home. So when we really want to look at meaningful participation and engagement of women, it does not only start at the boardroom table. It has to start somewhere. It has to start in the home where we raise our children. I would want to say, apana chakaipa, it's nothing, out of this world for a mother or a father to reaffirm the potential that a girl child has in the home. Apana chakaipa kurangaridza mwana wako kuti you can do it, you are a leader. I see a leader in you. I see, something in you. There's nothing wrong in our parents in grooming and, motivating our girl children in the home to say, when you go to school and the position of becoming a monitor or a prefect or a head girl, comes up, there's nothing wrong for you to go and present yourself and say, I would want to be also a leader in the school. So it really starts at home. You look at the church environment. Ukaenda kuma clubs in my youth school church. You also find, yes, biblically we know what the Bible says in terms of placing Murume as the head and Mudzimai as the supporter. But we are saying let's also evolve to a mindset and a perception that also propels our women in the church to positions of leadership. Apana chakaipa kuti mtungamiriri we church anoti, sister, ndrukuona yo uchitosutwa ne position. Why don't you rally for it? But at that point as well, I would also want to stress how we as women to women also position to support our peer sisters when they position themselves to take up leadership positions. We want women, both young and old, to support each other. That sisterhood, character that encourages, that creates an enabling environment. We know Mazambia esa anonanga kuna mining because we have the confidence in what God has given that individual as a leader. And when we move from there, we see even in other stratas of leadership, you will see even women being encouraged to take up those positions. But it starts somewhere, which is the home environment that propels an enabling situation that instills confidence in a young woman to take up that position of leadership.
And in terms of the young women that you are building their capacity, preparing them to position themselves, are there any success stories that you have to talk about?
Sure. We have quite a number of success stories. I would want to mention one where one of our child rights ambassador who sits on the International Children's Jury, which is a jury that has got 12 countries being represented by children coming all over different countries. And she sits on that table. It's quite a high-level table that discusses issues to do with children's rights. And she's just a girl who has been mentored, who has been trained, who has been capacitated through our trainings that we run as Shamwari Yemwanasikana under leadership and confidence building. Already she's a voice that is to contend, even at a school level right now when she's still in school. She's actually, making sure that she creates a system that propels leadership in young women in a school, and even a system that is also sustainable even for when she leaves school. That system is to retain and continue grooming other young women at that particular environment. So we do have got quite a number of young women who have also assumed positions of leadership. We've got another interesting one who is already now, she's running the office of Minister of Gender at a institution where she's learning right now, which is an university institution. But she's also a product of Shamwari Yemwanasikana leadership because she started with this training when she was still in high school. But now she's in university and she's already acceded to, that position of leadership, being a minister of gender at a university. And we actually see more potential positions rising and positions where she will also be positioned and she positions herself to also take up and run as a leader within her capacity.
So what would you say is maybe for the benefit of some who might not even present themselves when there are these opportunities for their capacity to be built? What would you say is the benefit of training adolescent girls, young women, to prepare them for leadership positions? The importance of training.
The importance of training is one, it positions one to have that boldness, that capacity to make decisions. Not all decisions we are discussing about are decision making that will take any office position, but even in the home. When you are trained to make decisions as an empowered woman, will not take a decision propel a family to somewhere. Even when you look at the unpaid care work space, those are spaces where women take decisions. I remember one of the ambassadors previous week spoke about how women played the role of providing the family during COVID, during pandemic times. It takes a leader in a woman who is empowered enough to make bold decisions that continue with the wellness and the well-being of a family setup. So it only doesn't start and end in the office. Leadership can be found everywhere and anywhere. We spoke on the church. Murimai elder, you can even make decisions that propel adolescents and youth in the church to a position of what? Of empowerment and excellence. So we're saying leadership doesn't start in the office. It goes back and back to the level of household, community, church, and even in the democratic and civic spaces. We want to see leadership being propelled by young women and girls who are boldly capacitated and trained through various trainings that make sure that their confidence is boosted and their participation is elevated.
Your message of encouragement to young women who might be watching you and were contemplating or are not confident enough.
My message is, you can do it. If I can do it, if Shiko can do it, if Kudzi can do it, and all the other girls who have done it can do it, so can you. Don't look down on yourself thinking the space that I've been given is quite small. It doesn't hold high level of influence. You can start there. The only thing that is important for us young women and girls is to start somewhere. And also, don't forget to support your peers. It takes sisterhood. It takes a sister's encouragement for one to elevate to a position of change making and a position of bold decision making.
Indeed, a powerful message there as a parting shot for you as a young woman. If you were not confident enough, you were contemplating, you're not sure. Florence is saying you can start somewhere. And if someone has already done it, just tell yourself, I can do it. Your confidence, build it. Self-esteem, just make sure everything is just up there. Make yourself available for those positions. Until next week, it's goodbye from all of us.